Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2001 Honda CR-V. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this CR-V because this now completes my generations of the Honda CR-V. As of the making of this video, I have now driven every single generation of the CR-V. So we're going to be talking a lot about how they've changed over the years, what's different, what I like better, what I like worse, and all of those goodies. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpraedel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you get a video of your car just like this one. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 2 liter under the hood. Well, it's known as the B20Z. Now, the first generation CR-V always had a B20, but the first half actually had a different B20 that made less horsepower. This one makes 147 horsepower, and of course, this is the final model year of the first gen CR-V. The previous B20 that was updated in 1999 was 126 horsepower. So you get a nice 21 horsepower bump if you buy one after 1999. Now, the B Series is a fantastic engine. Honda people love this engine, and actually I most recently drove it in a Honda step wagon that was imported from Japan. The B Series, as well as its cousin the D Series, are kind of a really nice point in terms of 4-cylinder technology. Both of them were fuel injected, the B Series having dual overhead cams while the D Series only has single overhead cams, but they were overhead cam engines. They're modern enough to be efficient, but not overly modern like the stuff we have today where there's 1.5 million sensors that might go wrong. The B Series might go down in history as one of the best 4-cylinders, at least in my mind, because of that fact. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic. Now, you could have found these with 5-speed manuals. However, this is the automatic version, and the Auto Trans isn't super happy. This is kind of their weak spot, and unfortunately, the weak spot for Hondas in this era were always the transmissions. The Accords and Acura CLs had transmission issues. The Honda Odyssey had transmission issues from this era. And so, unfortunately, it is par for the course to have a transmission that, well, isn't so happy to be around. It's rather grumpy. Last but not least, about the CR-V, of course it is all-wheel drive. Now, you could find front-wheel drive ones, but this particular one is all-wheel. So how does it feel to actually drive the CR-V? Well, let me put my foot into it for a second. It sounds like a Civic, which is so funny to me. I'm so used to hearing that being low to the ground and scraping on every bump. Now driving a CR-V, that's rather different. But the overall experience is great. This car feels athletic. It feels up for the task. Visibility, great. Steering input, great. Throttle response, pretty dang good for a 4-speed auto. So I have to say this is probably one of the best driving CR-Vs that I've ever reviewed. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges, and if you're a fan of Honda, you'll recognize these immediately. Off to the left, I have my tachometer, in the center is the speedometer, and off to the right is my fuel and coolant temperature. Nice, basic, and simple, and they do the job. On the steering wheel, on the left and right, I do have horn buttons, as well as I have cruise control to the bottom right, and the overall steering wheel does feel pretty nice. It does have this cover on it. However, it's nice and thin, and I miss that era of steering wheels. Off to the left, I have 2 climate control vents, one with cruise integrated into it and one with our power mirrors integrated into it. Kind of an interesting look. And then I have not only my gauge dimmer switches, but my window switches off to the left. They're up on the dash. This is a very 90s Honda thing, but I still find it fascinating every time I get into an older Honda. Moving on to the door, because we don't have those window switches, it opens up a lot of room for your left knee, which is nice for a guy with big legs like me. And I just have my lock and unlock and grab handle for the door. Moving into the center, I have 2 climate control vents and the hazard switch. And then, of course, I do have an aftermarket radio because every radio from the 1990s was pretty terrible. And then I have the very basic climate controls. Off to the left is fan speed, in the center is temperature, and off to the right is where to send it. I do also, of course, get my air conditioning option, recirculating, and rear defrost. Then I have a little 12-volt outlet and ashtray that moves really smooth for being 22 years old. Then I do have two pop-out cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the CRV, and because of this little indentation, this actually passes. I don't know if pop-out cup holders have ever passed, but I'm happy to report that here in the first gen CRV, it does. Now, unfortunately, the center console also has cup holders, and those do not pass. Wah, 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 wah. But that's okay. And then I do have this little non-slip pad sort of behind the cup holders where you can put your little knickknacks. And then we gotta talk about the seats. I love the design, pattern, and feel of the seats. I miss 90s fabric like this. I think it's fantastic and something I love to see in Honda products. Really wraps up not only nostalgia, but comfort all into one nice package. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2001 Honda CRV, and a couple of things to note. First of all, headroom good, knee room good. For a smaller SUV, I'm very impressed with that. I also do get a little storage. Never mind, that's a pop-out cup holder down below. I don't get any center console, however, I can flip down these center armrests, which is really nice. Nothing really past that. However, I fit back here. I'm not a small guy. I fit back here rather happily, which is something that has kind of left vehicles of this size. I would say comparably, this is more comparable to the size of the HRV now, as opposed to the CRV. The CRV's gotten bigger over time. So this is actually very, very passable. Speaking of space, however, let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the first gen CRV. Now, first of all, I do want to note that the glass actually does pick up. This is a really, really cool feature that you just don't see on vehicles in this segment anymore. On compact SUVs, this is very, very hard to find, so that's really cool to see. And then you come in here, you pull this latch down here, and this opens up pretty much like a barn door, which is really, really cool. Of course, you do have the spare tire attached to that, but once we are back here, it is hiding a little secret that I'm sure you all are waiting for. So you pull up the carpet, and yes, this is a table, like so, and then it has these feet that come down, and now you have a little playing table that says Honda CRV actually on it. This was built into the trunk of every CRV in this era. Why they did this, I don't know, but I think it's ridiculously cool, and finding a CRV with the table intact is kind of hard to do, so very, very cool that this one has it. Overall, tons and tons of space in the back of the CRV, as you could see for yourself. I don't have to tell you nothing, and I love that about it. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really like this generation, the first generation CRV. I think it looks handsome. I think it is proportioned pretty well. I like the fact that it has the spare tire on the back. And although this particular CRV is actually bedlined to try to fight against the Wisconsin winners, although I'm not sure it's winning that battle, I like the CRV. I like everything that it does, exterior and interior wise. So let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a first-gen CRV? Like I said at the top of the video with the driving, I think this is one of the best CRVs, if not the best CRV that they made. They really hit the nail on the head right out of the gate. Now, I am hoping to review a manual one day, and hopefully a very first-year CRV to really get their true debut feel, but for the first gen, I love it. I like the way it drives, I like the way it looks, I like how easy it is to work on. Parts are still cheap and available. It is a slam dunk. However, being a car reviewer, and now that I have collected all of the generations of CRV like they're infinity stones, how have they changed over the last 22 years? Well, it's interesting because it almost feels like the stages of life. This is a teenager in high school. This car is athletic. It's fun. It has this sort of jolliness to it. There's a light in its eyes. This car is open to staying out late and waking up early. It doesn't need that much sleep. It's still a kid. You can use it and abuse it, and it's gonna spring right back. It still has a metabolism. And then we go on to the second gen. That's college. Still fun-loving, a little different, a little bit more mature here and there. Still carrying a backpack, but all is good. It's just, you know, a little different, but it's still good. And then the third gen hits. And that's the post-college blues, trying to figure out what it wants to be. It gets pudgy in a couple of areas that it wasn't pudgy before. And you could tell that the spark is starting to leave its eye. Not as happy or as jolly or joyful as it once was. But it still has that youth about it. Still comes with a K series, which is another really reliable engine. But then the fourth gen is where the wheels start to come off. CVTs became more prominent. The CRV got bigger. And you could tell by the look on its face that it's not a kid anymore. And that brings us to now. The CRV that has survived the pandemic. It does things a little bit differently. It's a hybrid now, most of them at least. It has a serious look to it. It's not here to mess around. It has a big boy job with real stakes. You can't sleep in and miss a shift. It's on salary now. And while that can be a good thing that it's a serious SUV taking on serious competitors like the CX-5, like the RAV4, like the Nissan Rogue, it's fun reverting to the youthful CRV, back when life was light and fun and easygoing. I could drive this thing into the snowbank right now, and whatever part breaks, I could have it at my doorstep tomorrow. It feels like a stone going across a still pond, just kind of skipping along. It's not fast. It's not blowing me away with its driving experience. Oh my God. But it's just fun. It's lighthearted. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's what I miss. I miss that about Honda, man. I miss that about the CRV. I miss that about myself. Staying out late, trying to conceal my laughter at 3 in the morning as to not wake my parents up. Getting fast food twice in a day, drinking 3 Mountain Dews, and having no stomach consequences the next morning. Now, if I so much as ingest a calorie past 8 p.m., my whole next morning is ruined. I miss it. But today, in this CRV, I get to relive a little bit of my youth. Back when I used to be able to run. I was never a marathon runner, but I threw down a 7-minute mile one time in high school because a girl didn't like me. Now I'm just oversharing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Paul for letting me take out his CRV. This was such an eye-opening experience. I'm so thankful I'm finally able to cross off all the generations of CRV on my list. This was so exciting to me, and just getting out here, driving it, was a really cool experience, and that is all thank you to Paul. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.